Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to this session.
Good afternoon, Dr. Pandey. Very good afternoon. Rather good.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I am fine, sir.
Okay.
Prakriti, we may start the session.
Sure. And when your valedictory will start, Dr. Pandey?
Pardon, sir?
Your valedictory program, when it will start?
It will start at 3:30 p.m., sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can we start now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I, Prakirti Chaudhary, cordially welcome you all to the 13th session on 5th day of the one-week National Online Faculty Development Program in Research Methodology on topic Research Ethics and Integrity in Academia, which is organized by PG Department of Commerce, Magadh University in association with Indian Accounting Association, Patna branch. We are honored to have Professor Pradipta Banerjee as our resource person. At present, Sir is Head of Commerce Department in Sidho Kanho Bistra University, Purlia. Sir has been conferred by University Gold Medal and Bank of India Cash Prize for securing first position in MCOM examination under University of Burdwan. Sir is a vigorous reviewer in various reputed edited books, journals, and has reviewed 11 articles. Sir has 9 years of teaching experiences for undergraduate course at Manbhum Mahavidyalay, Manbazar, Purlia, and more than 6 years of experience for post-graduation course. Sir has published more than 15 research papers and 17 chapters in edited book journals and conferences proceedings. Sir is an eminent speaker in various conferences and workshops. Not only this, but he is an active participant and has participated in more than 50 seminar conferences and workshops, which proves that he is not only an educator, but a constant learner. Thank you, sir. Now you can continue with the session. Over to you.
Thank you, madam, for introducing me with the learned participants. Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir. You are clearly audible.
Okay. Thank you, madam, for introducing me in this National Faculty Development Program on research methodology, which has been organized by, as mentioned you, PG Department of Commerce, Magadh University, Bodh, Gaya, in association with Indian Accounting Association, Patna branch. Honorable Chief Patron of this FDP and Honorable Vice Chancellor of Magadh University, Professor Rajendra Prasad, Patron and Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Sir of Magadh University, Professor V.N. Singh, respected convener of this FDP and Head and Honorable Dean, Faculty of Commerce of Magadh University, Professor Dr. Girish Nandan Sharma, who is also the Honorable President of Indian Accounting Association, Patna branch, Organizing Secretary of the program, Dr. Dharen Kumar Pandey from Department of Commerce of Magadh University, who is also the Honorable Secretary of Indian Accounting Association, Patna branch. Another Organizing Secretary, Mrs. Vinita Kumari from the same Department of Magadh University, who is also the Honorable Treasurer of Indian Accounting Association, Patna branch. And honorable each and every member of the advisory committee, organizing committee, and all the dear esteemed learned participants. A very good noon to all of you. At the outset, I'd like to convey my sincere thanks to the convener, Professor Sharma, and joint organizing secretaries, Dr. Pandey and Vinita Kumari, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this academic event and meeting you all here virtually it's indeed a matter of great pleasure for me, and for that, thanks goes to Dr. Pandey.
So we are also privileged to have you in this
No,
lecture.
sir. It's my privilege indeed, Dr. Pandey,
No, sir,
and
it's
I
our
am
also.
very much thankful to you. And another thing that I'd like to share with you that uh, I really wish to congratulate and give a big applause to Dr. Pandey and Vinita Kumari and his entire team, who are always very much enthusiastic as well as dedicated towards their academic assignments, and for organizing a series of academic events during this pandemic period on a regular basis, like webinar, lecture series, FDP of different durations. In spite of having so many difficulties, you know very well that in organizing any type of academic event during this time. So my sincere thankfulness as well as hearty congratulations to you and your entire team, Dr. Pandey.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I'd like to share my screen, and is it visible? Is it visible, Dr. Pandey?
No, sir, not yet.
Just a minute. I think now it is coming.
Yeah, yes, sir, now it is coming, sir.
Okay, I could not make the PPT, and I think what will serve the purpose as well.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, and as Madam has mentioned, the topic of today's discussion, not any class like this. Today's discussion will be on research ethics and integrity in academia. And don't take it so seriously, because I personally believe that the terms mentioned here, that means research ethics, integrity, academic integrity, plagiarism, everything are very much linked to one another. And I personally believe that if we do our research honestly, then we need not to think about all these. If we are very much honest to ourselves, then you need not to know what plagiarism, how it occurs, how to prevent it, etc. and etc. Still, you know that in the year 2018, UGC announced in its order details guidelines on academic integrity to enhance the excellence in research as well as in academics. So in this session, I'd like to discuss with you the associated terms, associated terms, related terms, with examples, with a discussion like research ethics. What is research? What is ethics? What is research ethics? What is integrity? What is academic integrity, etc., etc. To start with, what is academic research? You know, the basic purpose of any research, whether it is fundamental or applied, whatever it may be, the basic and ultimate objective of any type of research activities is to contribute something in the existing body of knowledge in the chosen topic, on the chosen phenomenon. And if this is the basic objective of research, to add something in the existing body of knowledge, and if we are very much honest from the eyes of ourselves, not from the viewpoint of others or other institution, other persons, or like this, then if we have in our mind that through our research, we are going to add something. That means we are going to contribute something new that was not available, that is not available till now in that particular topic. Then why we have to think about plagiarism, which is basically the copying or reproducing someone else's work in the name of myself. Then if we have in your mind that through our research, we are going to do something new, we are going to do something unique, then we need not to know what academic integrity is, what plagiarism is, how it occurs, how to prevent it, how to lower down the percentage of plagiarism, etc., etc. Now, from the screen, you can see that academic research is basically a quote-unquote creative and systematic work undertaken to increase the stock of knowledge that exists on a particular topic. And obviously, it involves the collection, organization, and analysis of information to increase understanding on a topic or on a phenomenon or an issue under consideration. And this is the very much integral process of, or you can say integral steps of every type of research. If you think research as a process, then in our research, what we do, we collect some information, some data, we analyze those information or data with our knowledge, applying different tools, techniques, methodology, which varies on the type of research, the objectives of research, the purpose of the research, etc., etc. And on the basis of such analysis, we come to a conclusion through our findings, or you can say major findings. So basically, the purpose of any research is to make the input into output. Input is the information that we collect for the purpose of our research, and applying proper methodology, appropriate methods, techniques, tools, we convert those inputs into some outputs. And our findings, our conclusions are the outputs of any research, of our research. So in our research process, we collect some information, we process such information, and then present those analysis in the form of our findings and conclusion. Now, in the second para, you can see that the purpose of academic research is to explore the truth and develop new knowledge, which enrich existing body of knowledge on the chosen topic, with the ultimate objective to promote development of mankind in a number of spheres. We know very well that research is very much needed for any type of development from any perspective. So ultimate objective of any research is to add something. And what is the purpose of adding something in the existing body of knowledge? To enhance the development of our society, of our economy, or from any other perspective. So such research is one of the integral responsibility of a faculty member working in an academic institution. I am mentioning here that academic institution because in case of research institution, emphasis is much given on research because they need not to take classes, they need not to focus on regular class teaching, etc., etc. So there are enough opportunity to put all their efforts on research activities. But in academic institution, we have some workload like class, different academic activities, different administrative activities. So apart from all these, being an academician, we must have the responsibility to do some academic research. And in some countries, and you can say at present in most of the developed countries, the performance of a teacher is evaluated on the basis of his or her research output. You all know that. And their increments, their salaries, their job security, everything are very much linked with the quality of their publication, quality of their research output. So, being an academician, we must have to be involved in academic research. And for doing academic research, just like in our day-to-day activities, we always apply our ethical thinking. We always our judgment on what is wrong, what is right. In here also, we must have to adhere to our ethical thinking, ethical philosophy, and from that perspective, the term ethics, integrity have been linked with research activities. Now, what is ethics? The term ethics derived from the Greek word ethos, which means custom, habit, character, disposition, our behavior, our code of conduct, etc. Now, ethics or moral philosophy is a branch of philosophy that involves systematizing, observing, practicing, adhering, recommending concepts of right and wrong, right between right and wrong conduct. And this is the foundation of any type of ethics. Ethics guides us what is wrong and what is right, what we should do and what we should not do, though we have the power to do that. Ethics or ethical thinking, ethical philosophy guides us in right direction as a human being, what we have to do and what we should not do. That means it is very much concerned with the honesty, integrity, right code of conduct, right code of behavior, and alike terms. And moral principle that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an academic activity is called ethical behavior, moral behavior, and ethics. Then we can say that ethics helps us to navigate the gray area between absolute right and morally wrong. I'm skipping other definition of ethics. Just in the previous paragraph, ethics is a system of moral principle, moral philosophy practiced by a person or a group of persons in a society or in any institutions. And ethics is concerned with what is good for individuals and society and social standards. So everything which have been discussed in connection with ethics basically guides us. And it helps to navigate the gray area. Gray area means neither fully transparent as well as not fully black. Then gray area. And at the end of one side, there is absolute right, and on the other side, it is morally wrong. And if we have ethical thinking, if we have our moral values, then we'll be able to take right decision between what is right and what is wrong, and what we should do and what we should not do. Next, research integrity. Research integrity can be defined as the trustworthiness of research with respect to soundness of its methods and the honesty and the accuracy of its presentation that we usually do. That means research integrity guides us that we must have to be honest, we must have to be fair in making any research findings or presenting our research work, the findings of our research work. And research integrity broadly refers to the thoughtful and honest adherence to the relevant ethical, disciplinary, and financial standards in the promotion, design, conduct, evaluation, and sharing of research. Now, if you now list down the what principle should be followed to promote research integrity, or you can say academic integrity, then the components will be honesty, reliability. That means your findings, your research output should be reliable. That means you have to taken care of from where you are collecting your data, what's the method that you are using for analysis of your data, because you know there are so many sources from where you can collect your information, you can collect your required data. There are so many methods, techniques, tools that you can use to make analysis of your data. So you must have to adhere to the ethical principle, because you know if we do our research through primary data, then there exists ample opportunity for us to manipulate the data. And in most cases, no one will be able to explore that I have manipulated my responses that I have taken from different individuals or other institutions. That means what if it is not secondary data published in the form of reports and journals, in other books, etc., then there exists ample opportunity to manipulate the data. But if we have in your mind the ethical thinking, if we possess the values with us, then we will be barred from this type of activities. Use of robust research methodologies that I have mentioned right now. Impartiality and independence. Throughout our research work, we should be independent, we should not be biased towards anything, in starting from collection of data to analysis of data and presenting the research findings. Open communication. You know, knowledge enhances through interaction. Through communication, through interaction, we'll be able to enrich our thinking, and it also minimizes the chance of the findings or data or the method being manipulated. So if we take care of all this, then automatically we'll be able to adhere to the research integrity, duty of care for the participants. You know, in some or you can say in many researches, the respondents don't wish to disclose their identity, because in many cases they provide us some personal information or those information which are very much sensitive. So we must have to take care of them. We must have to be fair. High standard of mentorship and supervision in case of guiding any research scholar. Awareness of responsibility towards the society. Through our research, in your research, we should not do anything which may be harmful for our society from any angles. So these points, if we keep in our mind, then obviously it will be easier for us to comply with the academic integrity. Now, coming into academic integrity in research. Academic integrity means acting with the values of honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility in learning. Responsibility in learning means, for example, in our exam, you are cheating. We are going into exam hall by writing something on our palms or with some materials. So here we are doing something which is not right being a student. So we are committing some unethical practice in the process of our learning. So responsible learning, teaching and research everywhere. Now it's important for the students, teachers, researchers and professional staffs associated with academics in any capacity to act in an honest way, be responsible for their actions and show fairness in every part of their work. This is the importance of academic integrity in research. So every one of us, whether I'm a student, whether I'm a teacher, whether I'm a researcher, a research scholar, whoever I am be, we must have to know the basic principle of academic integrity, and we always try to adhere that with the ultimate objective to keep the true spirit of research in academics. Now, if we try to analyze what are the basic principles of academic integrity from the previous discussion, earlier discussion, then it will be very clear to us that, number one, do not twist the facts to suit your hypothesis. We know in most of the researches, we set some hypothesis. Hypothesis is not true. It may be true, it may be wrong. It's just our assumption. And to test whether the formulated hypothesis is true or false or right or not, we collect required data. With the help of data, we try to test, we try to judge whether the hypothesis is right or wrong. So there is no need that we must have to prove that our formulated hypothesis is right. So we should be very much unbiased. We should be very much fair. And we should try to collect information, data, which are in favor of our formulated hypothesis as well as which are in against of that. There is no need to establish that the formulated hypothesis that I have stated in the initial stages of my research is very much true, very much right, so far as analysis of data is concerned. There is no need of doing that. So we should not take care anything to prove that our hypothesis is true. But you may, if you think that the results that you have got is not at par with your logical thinking, but your data proves that. Suppose your formulated hypothesis has been tested to be false, but your logical thinking says that the null hypothesis should be true, or that should be true. So you try to establish that with your reasoning, with your supporting reasoning that you could develop through going through the existing literature on that particular topic. You can do that. You can mention in your research that though the findings of our study very much support to the formulated hypothesis, but from our these and these grounds, we can say that it may not be valid in other situations, and it purely was due to the fact that the data has been collected some specific sources or in any other way. So never try to establish your null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. Let them what they be proved during the period of your research. For example, just to have an example, suppose my hypothesis is like this: midday meal has no effect in reducing school dropout. For example, this was my formulated hypothesis. That means midday meal, there is no effect of midday meal in reducing school dropout. So we should not think in our research that we have to prove that there is no impact of midday meal in reducing school dropout. Rather, we shall collect data from appropriate sources by applying appropriate sampling techniques, and let the data to disclose, to establish any type of finding. We may come at the conclusion that yes, midday meal don't have any impact on reducing school dropout, or we may come to the conclusion that no, our formulated hypothesis was wrong, and midday meal has a significant impact of reducing school dropout in our country. My hypothesis may be like this: financial inclusion is not associated with financial literacy. And if my intention is to prove that our formulated hypothesis is right, then obviously we shall be biased in collecting our required data. We always will be happy to collect those data, those responses, which is very much at par with my formulated hypothesis. But we should not do that. Suppose my hypothesis is that global warming is not caused by human activity. And if my intention is that we have to prove that there is no responsibility of humankind or mankind in increasing global average temperature. So we shall try to collect those evidences of global warming which was caused by other activities, other causes apart from human activity. So we should not do that. Second one, acknowledge and give due credit to other people and other work that have already been carried out on your chosen topic. You know, and we all know that research is not carried out on vain. Whatever the topic of your research it is, you obviously shall have some works that have been carried out earlier by some other researchers. Because for any type of research, for developing your understanding of that particular topic, you must have to consult, you must have to go through different books, different journals, different reports. And it is very much essential for doing any research, because without having any material, without having any existing knowledge on that particular topic, how will be able to develop our understanding? And there is no wrong in this. We must have to go through all the available literatures. But we have to mention that from there, from this source, from that source, we could know that this and this. So always we should acknowledge and give due credit to other people and other work that have already been carried out earlier. Because through our research, we try to add something in the existing body of knowledge in that particular topic. So without knowing where the existing body of knowledge stands at present, how will be able to add something else in the existing body of knowledge? Suppose I want to contribute something, just for example, I want to contribute something for the beautification of my department. I want to do something which enhances the beauty as arrangement and other things of the department. So if I want to do that, at first I have to know what furnitures, what other apparatus, other instruments, and other things are already in the department, so that I'll be able to bring something new and we'll be able to add something to make our department more beautiful. So if you want to add something in the existing body of knowledge on your topic, then before doing something, you must have to know where the existing body of knowledge stands at present. And that's why we go for literature review. Literature review is nothing but an in-depth understanding on the existing state of knowledge on your chosen topic. And through literature review, we can find the research gap that I want to fill through my research. So without finding out the research gap, it is quite impossible to do any research. And for finding out the research gap, you don't have any other option other than to go for literature review. So literature review and finding research gap is an integral part of research. And there is nothing wrong in it. But if I do something to represent those works of others in the name of myself, then we are doing something wrong. So if we acknowledge and give due credit to other people and other work, then we'll be very much able to adhere to the academic integrity, moral ethics or values, etc. Just see the paragraph. It is unfair and unethical to present other people's idea or contributions as your own, or to fail to acknowledge their contribution to a body of knowledge. So you must have to be very much honest in disclosing the contribution of others, from where you could develop your own thinking. You may contradict you may give argument in favor of or in against of their findings, but you have to mention that those findings those findings could be arrived at by these and these scholars. Now, third one is, do not submit the same or similar work of yourself in different context without declaring that you are duplicating your works. If the very much objective of research is to contribute something new, then if I reproduce my own work that I carried out earlier, then it will also be unethical, because it will not be able to contribute anything new, anything unique. So it is called self-plagiarism. That means we are going to plagiarize our own work. So it is equally punishable, it is equally detrimental, it is equally unethical to reproduce our own work in different contexts, in different perspectives, in different languages. We may change the abstract, we may rearrange the order of the paper or work and then reproduce it. It is also unethical. So if we adhere these three principles, that we should not reproduce my own work in different languages, if we acknowledge the contribution of other people on that particular topic, and if I don't manipulate our work, our findings, or our data to serve any particular purpose of my own liking, then we'll be very much able to avoid all the things, and will be able to promote academic integrity, research integrity in academia. Now, first one was relating to not committing any biasness in the analysis of our data or in the process of our research. Leave it, it is up to you. Number two was giving due credit and acknowledging the contribution of other researchers. That means you have to mention that we came to get these findings or these observations from that writer, from that scholar, from that academician. So there some process of acknowledging that, and you can do that, and you must have to do that through referencing. You all know that referencing is nothing but acknowledging the contribution of others, and you can do that in two different ways, and you have to do both of them. One is in-text citation and other is bibliography, or you can say reference, though there is some differences between reference and bibliography. Leave it. Then you have to mention the contribution of others when you are discussing on that particular topic, that particular aspect in your article, and it is called in-text citation or simply citation. It is also called in-text referencing, and there is a specific format of that. I'll come to that part at the later stage. And other is at the end of your article, your research work, in the reference list or in the bibliography. Reference is nothing but the detailed form of whatever you have mentioned in your citation, in-text citation. That means if you give the reference, that means the number of references will always be equal to the number of citations. But bibliography, apart from the details of the contribution that you have mentioned in your citation, some other materials that you did not mention in the body of the text, body of the article, but you could, those could help you to develop your understanding, like books, different books. Suppose being a student of commerce, we are going to analyze, for example, the financial performance of this and this company during this year. And for that, we have used some important ratios. Then obviously, for have an understanding on what type of ratios are used to measure the performance of a company, it may be financial or anything else. then obviously we have taken, we'll have to take help from some books. So we must have to mention that at the end of our work, and that will call bibliography. That means bibliography means all the materials, all the resources that you have consulted, and those which helped you to develop your understanding to carry out your research work is called bibliography. Now, then, to avoid the unethical practice, we have to mention all the contribution of different scholars that already been available on that particular topic. Next one, what needs to be referenced and what need not to be referenced. Just have a look on the paragraph. Whenever an academic writing uses words, sentences, facts, ideas, theories, findings, observations, or interpretations from some other sources, those sources must be acknowledged through referencing. So if you use these and these, then you must have to mention those in your work. And just to mention separately, if you have copied words or sentences exactly from a book or any other material, then either you are using exactly the words or sentences, then here you must have to mention those quote unquote, that means within quotation, or indented. It is also a type of quotation. You know that if the number of words in a quotation up to 40, then we usually use quote unquote. We use the quotation mark. And if the quotation, that means the number of words in a quotation is fairly large, normally exceeding 40, then it is customary to use that without quotation, and in separate indentation is required, and it is normal to use the 0.5 indentation. Just we use in case of paragraph, and in that indentation complete quotation is written down. So this is another form of quotation. So if we are using something exactly that is available in other sources, then we have to put that within quotation mark or within indentation. Next one, if you have used an idea, concept, or fact from an outside source, even if you have not used their exact wordings, then you will also have to mention those sources. If you are using exactly the same words or sentence, you must have to mention that within quotation. But if you not using the same words, same sentences, but you are using the idea, the fact, the findings, then you also have to mention the sources, but not within quotation mark. If you summarized or if you paraphrased the work of someone else, I shall come into the term paraphrase, summarizing later on, then you also have to mention that in your work. You must have to mention that in your work. If you use the illustrations given by some authors in other works, and you are using those illustrations in your own work, then you must have to mention that. Likewise, if you're using any theories, any opinion, any analysis, any music or other performance media, computer code which is used in developing in software, a design, drawing, plans. That means any unique work that was done by someone else, and you were using those in your research, in your work, then you must have to mention the source. That is from where you could get that. And there is only exception to this. That means if you use someone else's work in your study, then if the fact is a common knowledge that you are using, then that need not to be referred. Common knowledge means the knowledge which are available, or what we all know that, and those are available in plenty of resources, that you need not to mention that. For example, New Delhi is a capital of India. You are using this sentence in your work. Then you need not to say that from where you could know that New Delhi is the capital of India. But what constitutes or what will constitute common knowledge obviously will differ from subject to subject, as well as it has also country perspectives, because you know what is very much which is very much common to for example Australia may not be common in India. The term which is very much common in Indian context may not be very much common in the context of other countries. For example, in India, state-aided universities get their funds from concerned state governments. In Indian perspectives, we all know that state universities get their funds from state government and central university, basically, and apart from some grants from central government also. But basically, state governments get their grant from state government, and central universities, central institutions get their fund from central government. We all know that. So if I mention in my work that state government, state university, this one is a state university, so this and this. So I need not to mention from where I could know that, or what's the meaning of state university, or how can I say that state government, state university or state institution get their fund from state government. I need not to mention that. But if I publish that work in some other countries, the people of that country may not know that in India, state universities get their fund from state government and central universities get their fund from central government. So it will not be a common knowledge in the perspective of that country. But this is very much common in the context of our country. Again, a particular term which is very much common in commerce or management discipline may not be very common in other disciplines. Just for example, you may say that as in the need hierarchy theory of Maslow, it has been mentioned that this and this. And you know, being a person from commerce or management discipline, most of us know what is need hierarchy theory of Maslow. Or you can take many more examples, which is very much common in the commerce and management discipline, but that may not be common knowledge in subjects like English or political science or zoology or science. So if you think that applying your rational thinking, considering the perspective on which you are mentioning that, you are writing that this is very much common, and it is known to most of the persons from this discipline in the context of which I am doing my research, doing my work, then you need not to mention the source and you need not to acknowledge the name of the authors who have already mentioned those points earlier. But if you can't understand whether it pertains to common knowledge or not, then it is safe to mention that. If you mention something in addition what is required, no problem is there. So if any confusion arises, it is better to mention. Now, what is the, apart from avoiding plagiarism, at present, obviously, it is required by regulation. It is required by modalities of code of conduct in higher education institutions. But if it was not there, then what are the additional objectives? What are the additional purposes that proper referencing can serve? Number one, to distinguish your ideas. If you make Dr. Pandey, would you like to say anything to me?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, if you mention the sources, if you mention or acknowledge the works that have already been done by other authors, and this is the uniqueness of your contribution, then it will be easier for you to establish that. That is, in the earlier, those and those authors have shown these and these, have documented these and these, and from there, I found that there exists an opportunity to explore this aspect, which was not touched upon by other researchers in earlier. So this is my uniqueness. This is my original contribution. So without making referencing of other works, it is not possible to you to establish that this is your own idea. So if you want to establish someone's own idea, someone's own contribution, it is very much needed that the researcher, the author, should have to mention the works already done by other researchers. To reinforce your argument, important rational thinking and argument. So if you don't go through the materials, the resources that are available, it is not possible for you to develop your argument on that particular topic. So for developing your own argument, you have to mention the contributions of others, as well as you have to go for the contributions of the other to show different perspectives. Whatever findings we can get in most cases are very much specific, very much applicable to a specific perspectives. So if you mention the works of other academicians, other researchers that have been carried out earlier, and if you mention the perspectives under which those researches were carried out, and in your research you are going to do that, you are going to test that the validity of those findings in different perspectives, then it is possible only when you will mention the other works that have been carried out earlier in different perspectives. For example, we may wish to know that what's the contribution of financial education or financial literacy on promoting financial inclusion, for example. And from the literature review, we could see that, we could know that any type of research has not yet been carried out in the context of rural areas in West Bengal. Just for example, though a plenty of researches have already been carried out in rural areas of different states, other states, but no study has yet been carried out in the context of rural areas in West Bengal. So in this way, if we mention the earlier studies, we can build upon the existing knowledge on that particular topic, but we are going to fill the research gap by changing the perspectives only. Then we'll be able to do something unique in our research. And for that, we must have to mention the studies that have been carried out in other context, other perspectives. Next one, to allow fact checking. In our referencing, what we do, we, in the in-text citation, we mention the abbreviated form of the work, and in the reference list, we mention every details of that work, comprising of name of the author, year of publication, title of the journal, title of the article, the volume in which it was get published, the number, the page number, everything. So if in my text some statement is there by making reference of that text, and a reader wants to have a look, have a reading on that original article, then it will be possible for the reader to collect or to locate that particular article if you give full description on that. But if you don't do that, just you give the in-text citation, that in in-text citation, we mention only the surname of the author and the time. That means Roy, 2005. Roy, 2005. From here, it is quite impossible to know from where we can get the full text of that particular source. But we also mention that particular source in our referencing at the end of our article, at the end of our text. And from there, it is quite possible for us to look at that particular source and have a reading on that. So proper referencing will also serve this purpose. And next one, ensuring moral right of authors, ensuring academic integrity. It is need not to say that if I don't mention the work have already done by others, and those are I'm using in my research without mentioning their name, then I am committing some dishonesty, and it is not ethical. And obviously, to avoid plagiarism. And this is a very relevant topic of present times. Now, without going into the
ये पढ़ाई के मामले में सर ये बहुत कम है कहाँ क्या आज बोलिए आज ही
Sir, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Pandey, I think you can
Yes.
hear me now.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Sorry for the interruption. Now, plagiarism is nothing but reproducing someone's work as your own work. That is, if you try to represent someone else's work in the name of yours, then you are committing plagiarism, and your work will said to be plagiarized. Plagiarism means presenting someone's work as your own, including copying or paraphrasing of another work without full and accurate acknowledgement through referencing, and it includes material presented through written, spoken, electronic, broadcasting, performance, or any other medium. So it is not wrong. It is nothing wrong to mention someone works in your text, in your work, but you must have to mention the source. You have to mention the contribution of that particular person that you have mentioned in your text. And if you mention the contribution of other researchers through proper referencing, through proper acknowledgement, then you need not to think about plagiarism. It will automatically within the limit. You need not to worry about what will be the percentage. In the context of an academic assignment, plagiarism occurs when information, facts, ideas, findings from other sources are used without making acknowledgement of that. And this source can be a book, journal, or any published material. Now, the common mistake that may lead to plagiarism are copying a series of words without telling the reader from where those words came or borrowed. If we mention just using those words, those sentences, that from this source, I could get this information, I could get these words, your work will not be plagiarized. Your words, your sentence will not be plagiarized. If you copy a series of words without putting them in quotation marks, then your work will be plagiarized. Paraphrasing, rephrasing another source by changing a few words. Using the facts or ideas from another source without telling the reader from where those borrowed. Copying tables or images in whole or in part without including captions or telling the reader from where those have been taken, all the examples of plagiarism. Now, let me share with you a very simple example. That means plagiarism means if you using any words or sentence, any idea, any fact, any figure, any table, any images, you must have to mention the source. Nothing more than this. Just you have to mention. That means if you are honest and if you honestly mention that these have been documented in the works of those and those, you need not to think about plagiarism at all. Now, let us take an example. Just for example, in an article published by Johor in the year 2006, it was written that, quote unquote, there are many advantages to using electronic surveys. It's possible that targeted users will respond more quickly to electronic surveys than to paper surveys because they do not have to worry about finding a stamp or a mailbox. A very common statement that electronic surveys have some advantages over the physical survey, because in that case, the respondent will need not to post the responses, and for that he need not to have a stamp or post box to post their responses. This was the statement, these were the findings, that Johor could find from his study in the year 2006. Now, using the wordings of the source without including quotation marks and a citation is plagiarism, will constitute plagiarism. If I use any words, any sentence from those findings, then we must have to put those sentence or words in quotation mark and also have to mention the source. That means within bracket Johor 2006, applying appropriate referencing style. Next one, so just see that. And I suppose I mentioned in my study that surveys can be conducted in person or by post or electronically. Just I have added this sentence. And after that, I have written that it's possible that targeted users will respond more quickly to electronic surveys. That means I have copied these sentences from the text of the article published by Johor. But here, if we don't mention the source and put them in quotation mark, because I have used quote unquote, I have used exact word, exact sentence. So I must have to put that in quotation mark, as well as we must have to mention the source. Next one, if you are quoting directly and a citation is included but not in quotation mark, then that will also result in plagiarism. If we use exact words, exact sentence, then we must have to give in text citation, as well as we must have to use quotation mark. So in the above case, we must have to use both quotation mark as well as in text citation. Next one, see that here the sentence has been reorganized in this way. Surveys can be conducted in person or by post or electronically. However, it's possible that targeted users will respond more quickly to electronic surveys than to paper surveys because they do not have to worry about finding the stamp and mailbox. Just in this statement, the order of the sentence has been changed. That will also constitute plagiarism. Again, if we use the idea but don't mention the source, don't mention the name of the author, then that will also constitute plagiarism. Just here see that paper surveys take longer than those conducted online because of practical consideration. That will also constitute plagiarism because that findings was could be get by some other authors earlier, and that is available in the existing body of knowledge. Now, so I think I have to complete by 2:30. So I'm not coming into the details. Now I shall share with you how can we avoid plagiarism very easily. If we want to mention the findings of some other works, obviously we shall make citation of that. But what happens if we don't take a note on those articles, on those particular concept? Then in many times it happens that we could not locate the article, we could not locate the portion of a particular article from where we could get that, and that's why we could not refer that particular source in an appropriate way. So if you want to avoid plagiarism, then it is better to keep clear notes while you are reading something. Then it will be very easy for you to look at that particular article. Next, if you copy more than about 3 consecutive words anywhere in your article, then just put those words in quotation mark. Then you need not to worry about that. If you use any words, ideas, opinions, information, or findings from a source, give citation as well as mention that in the reference. And if you cannot think about whether to be referenced or not, then it is better to mention that. And here I have mentioned the techniques of paraphrasing and summarizing. Paraphrasing nothing but changing the organization of the sentences, linking one sentence with other sentence, and rearranging the order of the sentence. It is called paraphrasing. And in doing that, we may change some words with its synonyms. That means basically we are doing nothing new. Just we are going to reorganize the statement of an author using some changes in its structure or organization, or change in voice, or change in some words. Then it is called paraphrasing. And summarizing means making a gist of a particular statement or findings. Both of them will constitute plagiarism if we don't mention the source in an appropriate way. Here, I mentioned some of the techniques of paraphrasing. The simple techniques that we can use for making paraphrasing that will not constitute any type of plagiarism. But I think it is better to skip this. We can use different words which are very much similar. We can use some relational connecting words. Therefore, he states that, just for example, we can change demonstrates by a number of words. It shows that, it conveys that, it portrays that, it supports that. That we have to use changing words. In an article, it is mentioned that predicts. Then we can change that with hypothesize that, theorize that, conceptualizes that, understands that. In this way, we can change. We can use some relational words, connecting words. That means according to this, for this, like this, in this way. Next, change the order of the sentence. Next, evaluate and synthesis. It is very much important because in your research, you are going for literature review. Then it may happen that on a particular aspect, you have a number of articles. Then from the findings of those articles, you can have different ideas, different understanding, different findings. Then through those, you can make thin synthesis. And on the basis of that, you can evaluate the findings of one author. And you can raise your argument to establish or to negate the argument raised by the authors in their study. And that will make your literature review very much enriched. And you'll be able to make your argument in a very precise manner, very meaningful way. And here I've mentioned the examples of paraphrasing step by step. And if you follow these steps, then it will be very easier for you to do paraphrasing as well as summarizing in a more convenient way without attracting any type of plagiarism. Okay, so I think all of you know, and here I mentioned some example how we can make paraphrasing and summarizing, but I think I shall not come here, that it will be time consuming. And at the same time, we must have to know the appropriate procedure of making in-text citation and referencing. And you know that for that different style formats are there. Whatever format you will use or you'll follow, that should be identical and that should be homogeneous throughout the article. And there is specific format of mentioning in-text citation. And you know that the most commonly used referencing style are APA and MLA. So you can use any of them. And let me come with the order that has been published by UGC in the year 2018 regarding plagiarism. And you know that at present plagiarism is considered as a serious offense. So in our research, you are going to do something noble work. So it's my personal opinion that don't go for any unethical practice. Just you do whatever you can do as per your capability. And obviously, capability increases with the increase of knowledge, with the increase in experience, with the increase in expertise. Then we should not think that at this stage I have to do an excellent work. It is quite uncommon, because being a researcher, it is not expected from me that I shall be able to do an excellent work. Whatever capability I have to do that honestly. And if we are very much honest in the eyes of ourselves, then I believe that you need not to think what penalties that may I have composed on me if I do this and this. What is the meaning of paraphrasing? What is the meaning of this and this? You need not to think at all. But you know, dishonest persons are there in every sphere of our life, from our day-to-day life to our academics, our institution, our workplace. So to prevent the unfair practices of a very few persons, the regulators need to impose some restrictions, some regulations, because in the year 2018, the rule for plagiarism and details regulation has came out. But would you believe that before that, everyone copied from someone else's work and make their work published in reputed journals? No. But some people were there. And you know, the earlier years, that means I mean to say that before the advent of information technology and availability of so many online resources, so many sources of getting publication, theses, books, journals, etc., it was very much easy to copy someone else's work and putting them as my own work and getting them published. Or even you know that some PhD works also carried out by copying someone else's work. But at present, you know, it becomes difficult to some extent, because now, you know, for PhD theses, electronic PhD theses are kept in electronic forms in the reservoir of PhD theses of different universities and UGC. And in the plagiarism checking software, all the available sources, electronic sources are checked, and the particular work is cross-checked with those published in earlier. And it becomes quite difficult for someone else to make a total copy of anyone works. So please have a look on the UGC guidelines that was published in the month of July of 2018. I'm not going into all the sections, just the basic objective of regulation was to promote the awareness on ethical practice, academic integrity, ethical practice, and an awareness on plagiarism. This was the number one objective of the regulation. Number two was how to prevent. You know, prevention is always better than cure. So how to prevent plagiarism, that was the another issue. And number three was how to detect if someone commits plagiarism. So with these objectives, the regulation came up in the year 2018. And here it was mentioned that the academic institutions shall have to frame a committee that will look after these issues, both at departmental level, if I consider the universities, then both at the departmental level as well as institutional level. And the specific name of the committee was there, that means Departmental Academic Integrity Panel, and for institutional academic integrity panel. And here the plagiarism, the extent of plagiarism was classified into 4 categories. From point 8, you can see that level 0, that means similarities up to 10%. If the percentage of plagiarism in your work is up to 10%, then you need not to worry about that because it is permissible. And before that, I also like to let you know that what are excluded from plagiarism checking, and these are all quoted work reproduced with all necessary permission and or attribution, including quotation mark. If you are mentioning something within quotation mark, then that quotation will not be tested for plagiarism because you are putting those in quotation mark and you are mentioning the authors. So you are acknowledging that that work was someone else. So that should be excluded from the plagiarism checking. All references, bibliography, table of contents, preface, and acknowledgement. And you can easily understand what are the reasons, because you know on a particular topic there will be more than 90% similarity of references, and it is very common. Suppose you are going to do a work on impact of leverages on profitability, then some pioneer studies are there that every researcher who are going to do his research on that particular topic must have to consult. Those articles, those publications are considered as pioneer study. So references, bibliography, table of contents, you know, for every dissertation, every PhD thesis, some basic formats are there of table of contents: introduction, literature review, database and methodology. So if we plagiarism checking software consider those, then obviously that will be plagiarized because the system will get similarity. So those have been excluded from plagiarism checking. And all generic terms, laws, standards, symbol, etc. used in the study. If I mention Indian Companies Act 2003, for example, 2013, if I mention MRTP Act, then obviously if we consider these terms, then some similarity will happen. So these are excluded from checking of similarity. Now, if your level is within 10%, no penalties is there, no preventive measure will be required. If the similarity percentage is above 10% to 40%, then it is called level 2. Level 3 is above 40% to 60%, and after above 60% is level 4. Sorry, 0, 1, 2, 4. It starts with 0, not from 1. 0 means there is no plagiarism. Level 1 up to 40%, level 2 up to 60%, and above 60% it is called level 3. And what will be the penalties that you may attract if you commit plagiarism? at any level other than level 0. And just have a look on the penalties. Level 1, similarity up to 10%, no penalty. Level 1, such students shall be asked to submit a revised script or thesis or dissertation within a stipulated time period not exceeding 6 months. If you commit plagiarism of level 3, such students' registration for that program shall be cancelled. And if you commit plagiarism of level 2, then you'll be debarred from submitting your thesis or dissertations or article for a period of one year. That means level 0, no penalty. First level, your your submission will be debarred for 6 months. Next level will be debarred from 1 year, and and level 3, your registration will be cancelled. And every person associated with that person academically will also be penalized for the commitment of that particular student. So it's the concern of everyone associated with research in academics that we should be very much careful on doing something that we know very well that it is not right, it is not fair. So be very careful and take care of that to avoid plagiarism, to avoid loss of your reputation, to avoid loss of reputation of your institution. And everyone can have a look on the guidelines. So with this, I wish to conclude here. And if Dr. Pandey,
Yes, sir.
if you like, so I can share how the plagiarism is being checked by UGC approved software like Triniton and Urkund. I have Urkund with me. And just if you like, so I think it will not be possible as it is around 2:30 and you have validatory program today also.
So we also have an assessment test scheduled for the participants.
Okay, Dr. Pandey, then it is better to stop here. Yes, and good afternoon, Professor Girish Nandan Pandey.
Sharma.
Girish Nandan Sharma, Professor Sharma. Okay. Professor Sharma, I think, cannot hear me. Good afternoon, Professor Sharma.
He is muted his mic. Sir.
Okay. With once again thanking the organizing secretaries, Dr. Pandey and Dr. Srimati Binita Kumari, and the convener of this FDP, Professor Girish Nandan Sharma, I am concluding here.
So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. You not only told the theoretical part, but also told us all the signs and patterns and covered the real life experience, making the students understand a very well way. Now I request Professor G.N. Sharma sir, convener and head and dean of PG Department of Commerce, Magadh University, to deliver vote of thanks.
सर आवाज आ रही है आपकी सर आवाज आ रही है सर आपकी सर आवाज आ रही है आपकी Actually, sir, I was also having some questions regarding this research ethics, but I will ask you personally because we don't have time, so I have not asked the question in this session.
Sure. If you like, so you can write me to my mail, and I shall
Yes,
try
sir.
to answer. I shall try.
Yes,
to
sir.
आवाज सुनाई थी ये नहीं आवाज है
सर आवाज आ रही है आपकी सर
जब बात करते हो
Sir, we can hear you. Dr. Pandey, Professor Swarma's audio is still muted.
Yes, sir, I contacted
Yes,
him.
yes,
He is
yes.
trying to
Yes,
unmute himself.
it has been unmuted.
हाँ सर अब
लो
हाँ आवाज आ रही है सर
आ रही है ना
Yes, sir.
हाँ
Yes.
हाँ सर
हाँ हम बोले
बस वीडियो नहीं दिख रहा आपका हाँ सर
है फोटो दिख रहा है
नहीं वीडियो नहीं दिख रहा सर वीडियो ऑन करिए
अच्छा हेलो हेलो
Yes, sir, you are audible.
हेलो
सर आपकी आवाज आ रही है.
आ रही है चलिए
Yes,
हाँ हाँ
sir.
सर आ रही है।
No.
थैंक यू मैम थैंक यू आज की सभा सत्र में हमारे मुख्य वक्ता प्रदीप बनर्जी दा आपको हृदय से धन्यवाद देते हैं कि आप वह कुरामिन हैं जो लंबी बीमारी से जूझ रहे पेशेंट को जान ला देती है आपका इस कार्यक्रम में पुनः आपका हिस्सेदारी हमारे लिए काफी लाभकारी हुआ और बनर्जी दा यहाँ मैं स्ट्रेटजी तय कर रहा था एक दिन कि कुछ हमारे के यहाँ और आगे जो कार्यक्रम बचे हैं उसमें आपके सलाह से हम इसको आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं इसी बीच आपका इसमें जुड़ना हमारे लिए श्रेयस्कर हुआ और आज के जब हमारा समापन समारोह आज होने जा रहा है ये 5वां दिन है इस कार्यक्रम का इस कार्यक्रम में जुड़ने वाले सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को भी मैं हृदय से धन्यवाद ज्ञापन देता हूं मैं आज आप इस सत्र को कोऑर्डिनेट किया इसके लिए आपको भी मैं अपनी ओर से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अर्पित करता हूं और बनर्जी दा आप हमारे लिए एक अमूल्य निधि हैं जब जब भी हमको कभी आवश्यकता ऐसी महसूस हुई हमने आपको याद किया और आप अभी जैसे इसमें जुड़ गए इसी तरह से मेरा अगला कार्यक्रम जो हम लोग बना रहे हैं एक इंटरनेशनल लेवल का जिसमें आप लोगों की सहयोग सराहनीय होगा जो मैं आज ये इसी वक्त सूचना के रूप में देना चाहता हूं अभी कुछ क्षण में हमारे कुलपति जुड़ेंगे और कुलपति महोदय की भी काफी इच्छा है क्योंकि इस कार्यक्रम से काफी प्रसन्न हुए हैं वो जानते हैं कि कॉमर्स डिपार्टमेंट में आए दिन कुछ न कुछ ऐसा कार्यक्रम होता जा रहा है जिसका सूत्रधार विनीता कुमारी और हमारे धीरेन्द्र पांडे हैं इतना ही नहीं हमारे सभी सहयोगी हमारे जितने शिक्षक हैं जितने पार्टिसिपेंट्स रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स हमारे साथ हैं सबों की एक लगन एक उत्साह इस ओर बढ़ता चला जा रहा है आपसे पुनः अनुनय विनय इस बात की ओर होगी कि आप हमें इसी तरह से समय समय पर जुड़ करके उत्साह वर्धन करते रहेंगे, ताकि सभी रिसर्च स्कॉलरों को भी ज्ञान वर्धन होता रहेगा। आप हमारे लिए अमूल्य निधि हैं। ये हम लोगों ने जाना है, जाना नहीं माना है कि आप हर कार्य को सकुशल करने की क्षमता रखते हैं। इसलिए आपको हृदय से साधुवाद। और मैं धन्य हूं कि हमारा ये एसोसिएशन जो है, ऑल इंडिया अकाउंटिंग एसोसिएशन, जिसके छत्र के अंदर हम लोग हर कार्यक्रम को करने की साहस रखते हैं, और जो कार्यक्रम शुरू करते हैं उसमें हमारा यहाँ सहयोग इस तरह से मिला है, और मैं इसको आगे भी लेकर के चलूंगा इस अपेक्षा के साथ कि हमको सहयोग मिलता रहेगा। बनर्जी दा, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और इसी शब्द के साथ हम आपको जो है हृदय से सैल्यूट करते हैं। बनर्जी दा।
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for your kind words. But, sir, I am personally thankful to you and your entire team for giving me such an opportunity to be a part of your grand academic event that you are organizing on a daily basis. From my personal behalf, I am really grateful to you, sir. And very good afternoon to you, sir, Professor Sharma.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सर,
It is
थैंक यू।
my,
आपका स्नेह ही संबल है,
sir, it is not
आपका
your,
स्नेह ही संबल है सर।
sir, it is my privilege, sir. It is my privilege, not of you.
नो
Because
नो नो सर,
sir,
यू आर एसेट,
no, sir,
एसेट सर, एसेट किड,
there are so many,
एजुकेशन फील्ड सर।
there are so many persons are there. And
No,
apart from that, you always
no,
invite
sir.
me, request me to be a part of. It's a great opportunity, and I am very much thankful to all of you, sir. And
Many, many thanks, sir.
Dr. Pandey and Kumari are doing a
Dr.
great
Pandey
job.
and Vinita.
Yes, and under your guidance, under your leadership, they are doing a great job during this difficult period of time. I am very much appreciative to them, and also I gave them a very big applause at the beginning. Not only them, but also you, sir. You really deserve a very good applause and hearty congratulations for all this, sir. I wish all the academic events that we will organize in future also will be a grand success. All my good wishes, sir. And I am again conveying my message that I always feel myself fortunate to be associated with this type of event. And I also shall remain thankful to you for any such event in future. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will meet in the valedictory session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
3:30 p.m.
hope that you'll all stay safe and well and during
Thank you,
this
sir.
time. And may God bless us all to have a good time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. It's Vinita Kumari here.
Yes, yes.
Words and motivating words, sir.
No, actually, madam, you are doing a great job. Great job.
We all are doing this job, and you are supporting us, encouraging us very much, sir. And
I shall always be happy to extend anything that if I can do at all. I shall be always even thankful and as well as happy to do that.
we are very fortunate, sir. We are very lucky.
No, sir. Because
Thank
Dhore
you so
is just like my brother, my own brother.
Yes, sir.
So, madam, I think you have a lot of things to do before valedictory. So, without
Yes.
wasting time, I think it will be better to close the session right now. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, madam. Sharmaji, I'm leaving. Sharmaji.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
Pandey.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And Professor Sharma, I am leaving. Okay. Sorry, I am leaving.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Dear participants, the session has been delayed, so the test will be started at 2:50 p.m. Please note the time. The link will be activated as 2:50 p.m. and the link will be deactivated again at 3 p.m. You will have only 10 minutes, and instead of repeatedly telling that the name should be in format, the first letter should be capitalized and other letters must be small. Few of you have called me regarding the sample test that your name is not being accepted by the system. And when I have seen the screenshot, I see that it is all the letters in capital letters. If you do these silly mistakes, and you will just disturb us in our work, and you cannot find out any solution, because during the test timing and before the validity session, I could not pick up the phone or answer to your questions in the WhatsApp. So please, whatever directions I have given yesterday, and I have also mentioned the important instructions in the mail, please abide by those rules. And I wish all the best to all of you. Please join the validity session before 10 minutes. This is our final session. It is the last session. I will not take much time. So see you during the test and in the validity session. Thank you.